Hi parents, in part 3 of working on fact fluency, we're going to talk about one of my favorite games. It's called Name That Number, and all you need is a deck of cards and a table and a child to play with. So I'm going to teach you how to play Name That Number. In this game, Name That Number, you start with a deck of cards, and as the dealer, you deal out 5 cards face up, and then you set the cards aside and take the top card off, and that's the number that we're going to try to name. In other words, we're going to try to find some ways to make 8 using the cards that we see. So one of the things that's great about using playing cards is that when kids need a little more scaffolding or a little bit more help, they can always count the number of diamonds or the number of clubs or the number of spades or the number of hearts on the cards to help them if needed. So the first option I see of a way to make 8 would just be to take the 5 and the 3. And again, if your child needs that extra scaffolding, they can count within the box. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 5 and 3 is a way to make 8. The object is to use as many cards as you can. So I'm going to keep looking. If that's your child's way to find it and they're ready to move on, that's fine. And then the next person takes a go. But let's see if I can find another way to make 8. I can also use subtraction, so I can say, well, 9 subtract 1, that will also make 8, but I've also still used only 2 cards. Let me see if there's a way that I could use more than 2 cards. So for your children who are working on multiplication, they might see some multiplication options. So for example, I might say, well, 5 plus 3, 8, times 1 still makes 8. So now I've used 3 cards, and let's see if there are any other options I can come up with that I can think of here. I could say, well, I know that 9 plus 3 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. Oh, and then subtract 5. So 9 plus 3 made 12, 1 more made 13, and 13 subtract 5 makes 8. So I'm going to use this option because I get to use 4 cards. And whatever cards I can use to make that number that I'm trying to make, that target number, I get to keep. And then the next player plays by replacing the cards that were taken. So I took 4 cards. We're going to put down 4 more cards, and this time we're going to try to name a new target number. Now in this game, all of your face cards count as 10. The ace counts as 1. You can also use the joker if you want to as a wild card. I took the jokers out of this one. So again, now the next player who plays is going to try to make the number 2 using the cards that are available. You're going to keep playing until all of the cards in the deck have been used up and no one can find any more ways to make the target number. And then you count up the cards that you've collected, and the player who has the most cards is the winner for that round. The thing I love the most about this is that different levels of players can play and enjoy it in different ways. When my boys were growing up, they're grown now, but when they were growing up, I had, for example, Jake in the 1st grade and Luke in the 3rd grade, and Luke was working on multiplication, so he would consider addition, subtraction, multiplication, in even division sometimes in his solutions, whereas Jake was typically only using addition and subtraction, and that was okay because sometimes he could find ways to use even more cards than Luke could with multiplication. It's a strategy game, but it provides some scaffolding because kids can use those cards and count the numbers if they needed to, but it's a great way for kids to work on their fluency in a fun way.
Another way that you can differentiate or make the game a little easier for your youngsters if they need a little more scaffolding is to take out some of the cards. So if I were doing this with preschoolers or kindergartners, we might have taken out all the cards except ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example, to start off with. So we're not going to get any numbers to target or try to make any target numbers higher than 5. And then we can, another way we can change it up and make it a little bit easier in the beginning is to put out fewer cards. So I might only put out 3 cards to start with, for example, like this.
In this example, I took out all the cards except ace, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I turned over the top card, and you see I only put out 3 cards this time. So I'm looking for a way to make 5. And one of the easiest ways I can see is just the 3 and the 2. Or you could still put out 5 cards if you want to, still limiting the cards that are available. So now there are a couple different ways that I could make 5. I could use the 4 and the 1. I could use the 3 and the 2. I could use the 2 and the 2 and the 1. And it just makes it a little bit easier for our younger students until they get the hang of the game.
Okay. Thanks for coming by today, and hope to see you next time.